It's now time to hear our own students speak. May I request Tanya Ravidas and Bhavan Bhaskar to deliver the valedictory speeches.
Can you hear me now? Yes. Yeah. So teachers, parents and fellow members of the batch of 2025, my name is Tanya Ravidas. And I've been fortunate enough to be a part of Shilp for the past 12 years. But 12 years ago, that wasn't my name. When I first arrived at Shilp, I was known as Ravidas' sister. A younger sibling thing, right? I think he's sitting right there in the audience. And everyone around me too wore not just names that were too big to fit into, but also wore backpacks that were too big for our bodies. And our house colors were proudly streaked across our uniforms, like first years in an Indian Desi Hogwarts, where instead of Gryffindor and Slytherin, we had Takshashila, Magad, Nalanda, and Patliputra. And we didn't have any sorting hat, just an ID card with a very prehistoric photo of ourselves. And no wand either, but somehow we had all the magic in the world right at our fingertips, right here at Shilp. And with our squeaky clean, soon-to-be mud-streaked shoes, we'd bolt through the corridors in a full-blown flurry, all ready for the best part of day. Art class with Sunita ma'am, where we were told to be creative, but not that creative that someone wondered if everything was okay at home. It was a class we enjoyed thoroughly, because it was one without the consequences of homework. And we'd stare in awe at ma'am's beautiful creations, and then glance back down at our own clumsy, glue-covered hands, wondering if we'd ever wield the paintbrush the way that she did. But she tackled this very differently. I remember she handed out empty sheets of paper, and we stared confused, blank. Our 6 years of life experience as a first grader was shook to the core. Usually we either had instructions, we had a reference, or at least we had the outline of a shape. But now we sat here, with a blank sheet and a bunch of colors. And she simply said, "Make it yours." We didn't know it then, but maybe that was the first time someone told us it was okay to be different. It's okay to pave your own path, to be a mix of colors that we choose, and to tell our stories with each intentional stroke. And now standing here as the class of 2025, maybe that's what it's always been about. The blank sheet was us, and Shilp was the color. My name is Tanya Ravidas, but 7 years ago that wasn't my name either. 6th grade, we were stuck on a burning bridge between childhood and adolescence, where finding a group was harder than the actual group project. And this time we wore our deep blue uniforms with a brand new sense of pride. The same ones we'd seen our seniors wear, and the ones we thought we'd never grow into. We believed they'd magically give us wisdom or maybe grow us twice our size. Well, some of us did grow, and some of us, like Devansh, are still waiting. It was this year that the boys' voice cracked into accidental yodels, and the washroom walls heard more gossip, laughter, and secret go-go battles than they should have. We picked special activities, started eating lunch upstairs with the grown-ups, and finally graduated to Friday assemblies. And it was very easy to identify us. It was as though we had this invisible label plastered across our forehead. One that said class athlete, the class clowns, we have a couple of them up here, the math geniuses, which was definitely not me, and I was the class singer. And these labels were picked up somewhere between our report cards and our free time. Some given to us by our teachers, some our parents, and some ourselves. And Shilp not only gave us the opportunity to grow within these labels, but also gave us a chance to be a part of others. With 2 hours of sports every day, we got a taste of everything, including a generous tan from the sun. Our interpersonal relationships were enhanced through Shilp Encounter and Shilp U, and each student bloomed in the classrooms that hid secretly behind the pine trees. Drama, dance, cooking, music, entrepreneurship. Any talent of ours was sure to find its audience with the platform that Shilp provided us with. Which brings me to the winter of 2018, Shilp Tara, an integrate competition for original music. A couple of my friends, we bunched together to form the world's best band ever. Dark side spelled with a Y. And our passion, coupled with delusion, and a severe case of musical incoordination, we wrote a song dedicated to our class called Flashlight. The lyrics were kind of questionable, but the intent was there. And we had this idea. It was dramatic, cinematic, probably inspired by way too many music reality shows. But at the end of our performance, our entire class would shine flashlights at us. And we weren't sure anyone would actually do it. And yet, when that moment came, the room lit up. It was like a budget Coldplay concert. Every single person held up their flashlights. And for those few seconds, it wasn't about the delusion. It wasn't about the bad lyrics or the offbeat drums or the pitchy vocals. But it was about us, as a class. Loud, chaotic, a little out of sync, but still together. And we didn't know it then, but maybe Flashlight wasn't just a song, it was proof. Proof that at Shilp, even our wildest, most questionable ideas were met with not just an audience, but with applause. And school became not just the place, but the people. And now standing here as the class of 2025, maybe that's what it's always been about. We were the performers, and Shilp was our flashlight. My name is Tanya Ravidas, but 2 years ago I still couldn't call myself that. And there's going to be some academic references here in this section, and if you don't get it, don't worry, you're not alone. We've been faking it for the past 2 years as well. The past 2 years, they were about choice, where picking our subjects became just as hard as picking the right song for our Instagram stories. But either way, we learned to choose. And through these 2 years of growth in choice, we learned a lot. We found ourselves spiraling like the characters of a Shakespearean tragedy, Macbeth, where Macbeth's words, quote, tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow, wasn't repeated out of poetic flair, but rather in response to an accounts project that was due 4 months ago. I'm looking at one of them up here. And Macbeth murdered not just his sleep, but also ours. And this year in economics, we learned about the law of diminishing marginal utility, which states that the more you consume of a certain commodity, your satisfaction decreases. But I'd argue that the class of 2025 is an exception to this law. Because once you get a taste of us, you just want more. The class of 2025 is the gift that keeps on giving. And now for the third lesson. 2 years ago, we had a full circle moment. All of us on stage, we were sitting right where you guys were. With the same cold AC, the overwhelming red, but with the view of an empty stage. You see, there was an announcement that day that pulled us out of class for us to head to the auditorium. We were eager, we were excited, because anything that got us out of class felt like a win. We made our escape into this mysterious event for just us 11th graders. We filed in with loud whispers and snacks hidden in our pockets, and we sat down comfortably. But then it got quiet, very, very quiet. It was our first ever career counseling session. There were a few groans and nervous laughter that interrupted the silence. But then the stage lit up with 6 words. 6 words that were followed by a question mark. The same question that blank sheet of paper asked us when we first came to Shilp. What do you want to be? But maybe the real question was, who do you want to be? And we didn't know it then, but that question was the same one we struggled to answer since the beginning. But we didn't know it then that we were already answering it. We thought we had time in 1st grade, 6th grade, 11th grade. But now, look, here we are, on the edge of choice. And standing here as the class of 2025, maybe that's what it's always been about, choice. Choosing not just careers or subjects, but choosing the person you are becoming. Because your legacy is who you are and who you choose to be. Because years from now, you'll open your closet and you'll reach for the furthest stack away and pull the shirt from the bottom. And it will be blue, and it will have a red collar. And on it, you won't find your grades, your achievements, your failures. Rather, you'd find words. Words written in black permanent marker on the last day of school. And in that moment, you'd find it unwashed. Because it was a choice that you made. Because it held those memories that you didn't want to let go of. It had you. Because years from now, when you open your camera roll and scroll through the photos from 24 and 25, somewhere in between a bad selfie and an unwanted screenshot, you'd find a blurry photo. You're mid-laugh and someone's out of frame. And you won't think about the composition or how the photo was framed. You won't think about your achievements, your grades, or your failures. But you will find the feeling of what it felt like to grow up. And years from now, you'll find yourself standing in front of a mirror. You look a little older and maybe a little braver. And you'll think about all the choices that brought you here. Just like the choice that brought us here on this stage in red gowns and caps. Today we fill this empty stage with the person that we are. And now it really does come to an end on a random Friday afternoon. My name is Tanya Ravidas, and I was too scared to say that as a definitive sentence because it felt incomplete. And somewhere in between Sunita ma'am's handing us the blank sheet of paper in first grade and standing here today in this red robe, I've come to an understanding that I am that blank sheet. So is everyone else. Still unfinished, still learning, and still choosing my colors. But what I didn't realize back then was that I wouldn't be filling this sheet alone. Each one of you, your laughter, your chaos, your friendship, became the colors of my sheet. And most importantly, I'm so lucky, and I would like to thank all of you for letting me leave a bit of color on yours. Thank you. I'm going to miss you guys so much.